Hi, I'm AnewZ, and you're watching AnewZ Weekend. Here are the headlines. Israeli forces withdrew from Netzarim corridor after Israel and Hamas exchanged prisoners and hostages. China is set to impose new tariffs on the United States. Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania have officially disconnected from Russia's power grid and adapted to European system. The Israeli military has withdrawn from the key Netzarim corridor in Gaza as part of the ceasefire deal. This step came after Hamas released Israeli hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners.
The Israeli military withdrew from the Netzarim corridor, a key area bisecting Gaza, as part of a ceasefire agreement. This withdrawal, expected under the truce, allowed Palestinians to begin moving between northern and southern Gaza, where many had sought refuge during the war.
Today I came to the north to check the situation, and thank God, the road was good, and the Israeli army have withdrawn. We are good as long as we have been back, and everyone is good, and that we'd all return.
Meanwhile, in a separate development, Hamas released 3 Israeli hostages after 491 days in captivity. Ohad Ben Ami, Eli Sharabi, and Or Levi had been held in Gaza since the October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel.
I'm being released now because of a deal. The deal is because of negotiations. I plead that the second and third deals be implemented. This framework, that the war end, and that us, all of the prisoners, return home safely.
The 3 men were reported to be in poor health, with some sources noting they appeared thinner and weaker compared to previously released hostages.
So it was definitely horrible to see all the, they looked like they were skin and bones. They didn't look human. They looked, like skeletons. These people are in a year and a half in hell over there, and especially some of their families murdered on October 7th. It was very hard to watch. But what I would love to see, and I'm sure everyone would love to see in the future, is all the hostages home.
Their release was part of a broader prisoner exchange deal, with Israel freeing 183 Palestinian prisoners in return. Among the prisoners freed, 18 were serving life sentences and 54 were serving long-term sentences. Additionally, 111 detainees held in Gaza during the war were also released.
The conditions were very bad. No food, no water, no medicine. We were in a torture center for 24 hours. I spent 40 days handcuffed and blindfolded, and I could not go to the bathroom or anywhere else. There was no food. I entered prison at 100 kilograms and left at 58 kilograms.
This release marks the continuation of a series of hostage swaps that have taken place under the ongoing ceasefire agreement, which has facilitated the return of 16 Israeli hostages and 5 Thai workers so far. In addition to the hostages, the ceasefire has also seen the release of 583 Palestinian detainees, furthering the exchange process as both sides fulfill commitments to the truce.
5 Thai nationals held by Hamas returned home on Sunday. They were part of the second group of 31 Thai hostages released so far in the ongoing conflict, making them the largest group of foreign captives.
5 Thai hostages released from Hamas captivity last week shed tears of joy upon their return to Thailand at Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi airport, where they reunited with their loved ones for the first time in more than a year. The returnees embraced their families in an emotional reunion after exiting the airport's transit area following their flight from Israel.
First of all, we like to thank you, the Prime Minister, the Foreign Ministry, the Labour Ministry, as well as all the officials involved in helping to get us out of there. Standing here today, we would not be able to be here without the help of those people mentioned. We are all deeply touched to come back to our birthplace once again. I don't know what else to say. We are all truly thankful.
ซาบซึ้งและก็ดีใจเป็นอย่างมากครับ
Thai Foreign Minister Maris Sangiampongsa, who led the welcome party, expressed relief at their return, but noted that his ministry is still working to bring back one remaining Thai hostage believed to be held by Hamas, along with the bodies of 2 deceased Thai nationals.
The tears of joy from the family is a very important moral boost for civil servants like me, the Foreign Ministry officials, Labour Ministry officials, as well as the Ministry of Social Development and Human Security. I would like to thank all parties involved, including the Thai Chief of Defence Forces who went with me to Israel the day we received the news.
Before the conflict, approximately 30,000 Thai labourers worked in Israel's agriculture sector, making them one of the largest migrant worker groups in the country. Nearly 9,000 Thais were repatriated following the attack.
We still have hope and will continue our efforts, including bringing back 2 other bodies as soon as possible. At the very least, we want all of them to come back home.
Most of these workers come from Thailand's northeastern region, a rural area of villages and farming communities that is among the poorest in the country.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called President Donald Trump the greatest friend Israel has ever had. In a recent interview, he praised Trump's support and strong stance on key regional issues. Speaking on Fox News, Netanyahu credited Trump with strengthening U.S.-Israel ties and called him a great leader for America and the world. He also stressed the need to halt Iran's nuclear ambitions and secure the release of hostages. Trump, who has openly backed Israel's actions in Gaza, made headlines this week by suggesting the U.S. could take control of the territory.
We still have an issue. The President and I discussed it. Iran's quest for nuclear weapons, they cannot be allowed to have nuclear weapons. We both agree on that. And we also have to finish off what remains of Hamas while we try to get all our hostages out. We agree on all that. And that's a point of agreement that makes us both a lot more powerful.
The New York Post reports that U.S. President Donald Trump has been in talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin, attempting to find a resolution to the war in Ukraine.
Hello, everybody.
United States President Donald Trump says he has spoken with Russian leader Vladimir Putin over a phone call in an attempt to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine. In an exclusive interview with the New York Post, Trump says Putin is in support of a resolution to the conflict. Trump asserted that the 3-year-old war would never have happened if he had been president in 2022. The Kremlin, however, have not confirmed the discussion between the 2 leaders, despite saying in January that Moscow was awaiting word from Washington to have talks. Trump also says he will meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky next week to discuss the end of the war and secure a $500 million deal for access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals and gas in exchange for security guarantees in a potential peace agreement.
Thank you very much. Thank you, press. Thank you very much.
China prepares to impose new tariffs on U.S. goods, targeting products like coal, oil, and trucks. This move follows President Trump's recent tariffs on Chinese imports.
China is set to introduce new tariffs on U.S. goods in response to U.S. tariffs imposed last week. The Chinese tariffs include a 15% levy on U.S. coal and liquefied natural gas, and a 10% tax on crude oil, farm equipment, trucks, and large engine sedans shipped to China. These retaliatory measures are seen as Beijing's limited response to Trump's broader tariffs. Some analysts argue that the move signals China's desire to avoid escalating into a full-blown trade war. Despite the tariffs, Chinese officials have shown interest in engaging President Trump in talks to de-escalate tensions. Trump, however, has expressed no urgency in speaking with Chinese President Xi Jinping. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt confirmed that President Xi had reached out to Trump, with a call still to be scheduled. The U.S.-China trade conflict began in 2018 when Trump initiated a trade war over China's trade surplus. Since then, tariffs have affected hundreds of billions of dollars in goods, disrupting global supply chains. Trump has threatened to raise tariffs unless China takes stronger action against fentanyl shipments. China, which claims to have made progress on the issue, has filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization to challenge the U.S. tariffs.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has vowed to continue the development of nuclear forces. This comes as the United States, Japan, and South Korea have joined forces in a trilateral military cooperation involving war exercises and the deployment of nuclear strategic assets. Kim has criticized their cooperation, saying that it invites military imbalance in the region and raises a challenge to the security environment. Security forces have killed 31 Maoist rebels in Chhattisgarh's forests in central India. 2 officers also lost their lives in the operation. The rebels, who follow Mao Zedong's communist ideology, have been fighting the Indian government for decades. Police say they recovered weapons and 31 bodies after the gunfight. With ongoing violence in the region, security forces are stepping up operations to target Maoist strongholds. U.S. aid faces a historic overhaul as the Trump administration has cut its workforce from over 10,000 to 294, freezing operations globally. The decision has sparked legal battles, criticism, and international scrutiny, with the debate extending from Kazakhstan to Hungary. Our report examines how an agency once at the forefront of U.S. foreign policy is now at the center of a global controversy.
On January 20th, 2025, President Donald Trump ordered an immediate halt to USAID's operations, citing wasteful spending and mismanagement. The agency's workforce has been reduced to just 294 employees, leaving thousands without jobs and aid programs around the world in limbo. The White House claims the agency was funding unnecessary and politically driven initiatives, pointing to projects such as diversity and inclusion programs in Serbia, $1.5 million, a transgender opera in Colombia, gender-related projects in Peru, Guatemala, and Ireland, electric vehicle development in Vietnam, $2.5 million, tourism subsidies in Egypt, $6 million. Critics argue these allocations diverted USAID from its primary mission of humanitarian aid and development. While legal battles play out in Washington, international reactions to the USAID shutdown are growing. Georgia, the ruling Georgian Dream Party, has accused USAID, alongside the US Embassy and EU-backed NGOs, of coordinated interference in Georgia's internal affairs. Officials claim that USAID has funded civil society groups with the aim of influencing political discourse, drawing parallels to previous accusations against Western-backed institutions. The government appears to be welcoming Trump's approach, expecting a shift in US foreign policy that would cut NGO influence in the country. Kazakhstan, the country's parliament is calling for an official investigation into USAID's activities, citing concerns over foreign influence and social engineering. Lawmakers have singled out USAID's $2 million funding to ILGA Europe, an LGBTQ+ advocacy group, as an example of outside interference in domestic policy. The push for an inquiry aligns with broader concerns about Western influence in Central Asia and follows similar criticisms from Russia and China. Azerbaijan. USAID has long been suspected of funding media and civil society organizations with the intent of shaping political narratives. Reports suggest that since 2012, the agency has financed over 6,200 journalists and 707 media outlets globally, raising questions about its role in international media campaigns. During the Second Karabakh War of 2020, Azerbaijan accused USAID-backed organizations of amplifying anti-Azerbaijani narratives. More recently, officials have linked USAID-funded initiatives to international criticism surrounding the 29th Conference of the Parties and environmental protests along the Lachin Road. Hungary. The Trump administration's cuts to USAID have received strong backing from Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán. His government has announced plans to eliminate foreign-funded NGOs and media outlets, calling them tools of external interference. Hungary has also established a sovereignty protection office to investigate organizations suspected of foreign influence. Meanwhile, Hungarian Foreign Minister openly supported Trump's suspension of USAID payments, stating the agency had been used to destabilize other countries and promote programs alien to national values. The irony surrounding USAID's situation has not gone unnoticed. For decades, the agency advocated for democracy, transparency, and accountability abroad. Now, it finds itself accused of financial mismanagement and political bias. With the agency's fate hanging in the balance, analysts say the outcome could redefine the future of US foreign aid. If USAID survives, it will likely be a shell of its former self. If dismantled entirely, it will mark the end of an era for America's soft power strategy. One thing is clear. For an agency that spent decades shaping international politics, it has now become the story itself.
In the United States, Elon Musk is supporting a suggestion by former acting director of national intelligence Richard Grenell to shut down far-left state-controlled media. These comments come as Musk-led Department of Government Efficiency slashes federal spending. Musk posted on X claiming that $1 billion is spent every year to fund Voice of America and Radio Free Europe, despite nobody listening to them. Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania have officially disconnected from Russia's power grid. The three nations are now fully adapted to the European system. This is part of a larger plan to integrate the countries more with the European Union and boost security.
Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania ended their reliance on Russia's electrical system after decades of dependence. The three countries briefly operated on their own before successfully connecting to the EU grid. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says the move marks a turning point for the region.
Today, history is made. We connect the Baltic states to our continental European electricity grid. Electricity lines with Russia and Belarus are being dismantled. These chains of power lines linking you to hostile neighbors will be a thing of the past. This is freedom, freedom from threats, freedom from blackmails.
Leaders say the switch will boost security and economic stability. Estonian Prime Minister Kristen Michal compared it to the country's EU accession, while Latvia's Energy Minister Kaspars Melnis called it a necessary step toward full independence.
Moments ago, I received great news. The synchronization of the Baltic states' electricity system with the continental European system has been successfully completed. This is a historic moment, marking the end of a long journey for Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia.
The Baltic nations stopped buying Russian energy in 2022 after the start of the war in Ukraine, but they still relied on Moscow for frequency control. Since 2018, they have spent $1.66 billion upgrading infrastructure to make this transition possible.
The first Amman Dialogue 2025 is underway in Karachi with Defense Minister Khawaja Asif as the chief guest. Maritime security issues are being discussed during the dialogue aimed at assessing maritime challenges at a united front. Our Anastasia Lavrina attended the event and brings us the latest from Karachi.
Hello. Today, AnewZ is reporting live from inaugural Amman Dialogue 2025 here in Karachi, the largest city of Pakistan. The first ever Amman Dialogue is being organized as an adjunct to 9th multinational naval exercise Amman 2025 and will be held today and tomorrow. The main goal of this dialogue is to provide senior leadership with a platform to exchange insights and ideas on regional security and evolving challenges at sea. With over 60 countries, including Azerbaijan, Turkey and China, participating in Amman 2025. This event highlights Pakistan's commitment to showcasing its strategic partnership and promoting multilateral cooperation in maritime security. At the same time, the participation of Azerbaijan underscores the country's commitment to foster stronger international partnership and addressing world challenges in maritime domain. The central theme of Amman dialogue is securing sea's prosperous future, emphasizing the critical importance of maintaining peace and security at sea for the prosperous global future. Before this, we had the chance to ask an exclusive questions from the Minister of Defense of Pakistan, and I think our viewers now can watch it. Today, the delegation from brotherly Azerbaijan is also participating in Amman 2025. Could you please share with us your impressions from this event and importance of cooperation between our countries?
Azerbaijan is a brotherly country. We share so much, in the recent times also and in the past also. And with every passing day, the strength of our relationship is increasing between Pakistan and Azerbaijan. Our cooperation is in multiple ways, and there are bilateral visits between the two countries. I think it's a very valuable relationship for us with Azerbaijan. And this conference, obviously, it highlights the importance of maritime trade, maritime security, in so many other ways. The maritime, dimension of our existence or our geography is perhaps a bit underrated. It should be given full importance. The waterways, which are, as I said in my speech also, the majority of the trade is almost 80% of the trade is through the seas, through the sea routes. So this is something which is very important, and we must reinforce it. We must support this effort. Pakistan Navy has done a very good effort this time. 60 countries are participating, and we hope to multiply this effort in coming years. And obviously, our brothers in Azerbaijan are the most important component of this effort.
Thank you so much.
The Caspian Sea, one of the world's largest inland water bodies, is facing dramatic changes. New data shows that its water levels are dropping rapidly, an alarming trend that experts warn could have serious environmental and economic consequences. Let's hear more from our journalist Ayten Shukurova's report about this environmental issue.
Today, I stand before Maiden Tower, a symbol of Azerbaijan's rich history. According to legend, a young woman once leapt into the Caspian Sea from its rooftop, at a time when the waves still reached its base. Now, the sea has receded far into a distance, a stark reminder that crisis continues to unfold. Climate change and mismanagement accelerating the Caspian Sea's decline with potentially irreversible consequences for economies, ecosystems, and regional stability.
The Caspian Sea, the world's largest inland body of water, is in a state of steady retreat. Since 1995, its level has dropped by 3 meters, displacing coastlines by up to 50 kilometers in some areas. By 2023, the sea reached its lowest recorded level in 3 decades. Scientists warn that if current trends persist, the Caspian may soon surpass its previous record low of 29 meters below sea level, last observed in the late 1970s. A 2023 study in Science found that 2,000 of the world's largest lakes have been losing 5.7 trillion gallons of water annually since the early 1990s. The Caspian's decline is primarily driven by climate change, increased evaporation, and water diversion for agricultural and industrial use. but the broader impact extends far beyond environmental concerns. This is a crisis with geopolitical and economic ramifications. For the 5 nations bordering the Caspian, Azerbaijan, Russia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and Iran, the stakes are immense. This sea has long been a lifeline for fisheries, energy industries, and local economies, but shrinking shorelines are now threatening vital infrastructure and biodiversity. In Kazakhstan, the shoreline near the village of Zhanbay has receded by over 20 kilometers in the last 2 decades, devastating fishing communities, oil extraction sites, and maritime transport routes. The disappearance of water has jeopardized sturgeon populations, a species that has long supported Kazakhstan's caviar industry. Meanwhile, shrinking coastlines have destabilized oil platforms and drilling infrastructure, with growing concerns over long-term energy security. The Caspian's fate draws parallels with the Aral Sea disaster. Once the world's 4th largest lake, the Aral was effectively destroyed by Soviet-era water mismanagement, leaving behind an ecological wasteland. Entire economies collapsed, biodiversity was wiped out, and health crises followed. While the Caspian's scale and hydrography make its decline slower and more complex, the warning signs are clear. Without intervention, the region faces a similar fate.
Повышение температур, испарение водной глади, все это влияет на...
Rising temperatures and increased evaporation from the water surface are contributing to the decline in the Caspian's water levels. Additionally, reduced water flow from rivers into the sea has exacerbated the issue. This includes the Volga River, Russia's largest river, which provides the greatest volume of water to the Caspian. Other contributing factors include the construction and regulation of hydraulic structures. However, some scientists believe the shallowing is a natural, cyclical process. Since 2005, the sea level has been declining, marking a peak in this cycle, and it is expected to continue for some time before eventually reversing. Regardless of the cause, forecasts and mathematical models are essential for understanding the likely outcomes. This, of course, necessitates cooperation among the affected states.
We also observed that Kazakhstan and in the future Azerbaijan is also planning to do desalination. Desalination means using the Caspian seawater and making it clean for the internal usage and the demand, which also means Caspian Sea countries using the seawater to clean it and use it their own water demand. It is also because the Caspian Sea countries, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan, are facing the water shortages or water issues as well. And if this issue continues, they will use the more Caspian Sea waters for the desalination. And it also means it will also influence the level. Iran and Turkmenistan haven't started yet, but they also consider to start the desalination process as well. So it also affected. So demand to the Caspian Sea started to increase as well. And when we look at the environmental issue, we can see here the oil gas exploration also affect the environmental issues. And technological developments is necessary, and the more strict environmental restrictions and control is necessary to check this process. And finally, there is a new trend this year. It's called the green hydrogen. Kazakhstan is planning to do a green hydrogen in the future. Other Caspian Sea states also express their interest for the green hydrogen. And green hydrogen production requires a lot of water. And this water might come from the Caspian Sea itself, and it can put extra pressure for the Caspian Sea. Green hydrogen requires a significant use of the water. And considering the water usage is quite already high and the shortage is present, this will increase the pressure for the water shortage as well, and also the Caspian Sea.
Despite signing the Caspian Sea Convention in 2018, fragmented policies and competing national interests have slowed progress. Experts stress that stronger transboundary agreements, investment in sustainable infrastructure, and early warning systems are essential to slowing and potentially reversing the decline.
We must not overlook the Tehran Convention when discussing ecological issues. In my opinion, many provisions of the convention remain underutilized, and I urge authorities to intensify efforts in this direction. The non-governmental sector is also playing a significant role. For instance, the Russian Ecological Society, in collaboration with the Clean Seas Foundation, has initiated the development of a Caspian Sea Green Standard. Public initiatives like these draw much-needed attention to the issue.
The Caspian Sea crisis extends beyond regional borders, posing risks to climate stability, biodiversity, and global ecological health. Platforms like COP29 in Baku and UAE Sustainability Week serve as vital opportunities to raise awareness, secure investment in conservation projects, and push for stronger environmental policies. At COP29, UNEP Executive Director Inga Andersson highlighted the urgency of the crisis, warning that the Caspian's continued decline threatens livelihoods, food security, and regional stability. The Aral Sea disaster stands as a cautionary tale, an ecological catastrophe that unfolded in plain sight. The Caspian's decline is not yet irreversible, but inaction will ensure a slow-motion disaster that devastates not just the environment, but the economies and political stability of an entire region. The Caspian's fate is still in human hands, but for how much longer?
Preparations for Brazil's annual festival in Rio de Janeiro are underway. Schools of samba dancers are practicing their performances at the Samba Drum venue.
The Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro is gearing up to host its annual festival. The carnival will kick off on February 28th and run until March 8th. Rehearsals are being held at the Samba Drum venue as samba schools participating in the contest prep for their performances.
It's wonderful, the greatest experience of my life. This is the most sacred place we have today.
It's a great experience, especially for those who don't have the means to be here on the day of the main parade and come here to support the school they love. The experience is incredible.
The Rio Carnival is considered the biggest festival in the world, with millions of Brazilians and tourists gathering for the event. Initial estimates of last year's earnings from tourism activities surpassed $1 billion.
That's all we have for now from Baku. Thank you for tuning in and keep watching AnewZ.